Okay, it's one thing to be at their house because he's obviously doing their mom, but he's now down the street at the cupcake place. Was he watching them? And I'm gonna be down here.
Because I'm gonna be right here.
And I'm gonna be right here.
Hi, guys.
Perfect. What a sound to
What a
start things.
sound.
What a sound to introduce myself to the
This-
community.
Without further ado, guys,
Stop.
American Girl Talk is back with a new flavor. Meet
Wow.
Chelsea.
I'm a flavor now?
You're a
That's pretty
flavor.
tough. What flavor would I be if I were a flavor? Go quickly, immediately.
Pistachio.
Aw. That's, I think, both like ethnically relevant and
Yes.
sweet because I
Yes.
like pistachios a lot.
And this is a good book to have my more ethnic friend as my co-host.
In what way?
Because Ivy is Julie's best friend.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. I forgot about Ivy or the important representation of an East Asian woman doing gymnastics. Groundbreaking.
In San Francisco, of all places.
Wow. Well, we're going to talk about all of it, folks.
Yeah, guys, we're back. We're
Yeah.
so back.
And don't worry, much like Hank, I'm not here to divorce your father, your real father. I'm not here to replace your real father, Celia. I am just my own thing.
She's not.
Are we addressing it?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Go on.
She's not here to replace Celia,
No.
our Celia in heaven.
Yeah.
She's just here to give us a bonus host.
A fresh perspective.
Yeah. And much like Julie's mom, I'm going to be rolling through co-hosts like dates.
Do not get me started on Julie's mom.
Uh-oh. You guys, we got a new girl and a new gal.
That's so true.
And so before we get into it, I do want to give Chelsea a little bit of time to introduce herself and tell us your relationship with American Girl dolls.
Oh, well, it's tough.
It's tough.
So I'm Chelsea. I think the most important thing to the people listening is that I'm your friend.
Yes.
We started as coworkers. And the cool thing is that company doesn't even exist anymore, but our friendship endures.
Yes.
Which is beautiful.
It's actually lasted longer than the company ever lasted.
Clap sync. And but I'm a podcast producer and digital producer and childless cat mom, many such cases in the millennial sphere, I think, here in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
That's me.
And
American Girl dolls, you
Yes.
asked, such as,
please.
So this is also, I think, like a fresh perspective because I do wonder how much your audience knows about like your class, like your wealth.
Yeah.
Okay. So
They know.
They know.
Just let you know. The
They know
unhinged
what
stories.
I know.
The unhinged stories I tell.
I'm gonna say I like how you're like they know what you know, which is not everything.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say I famously, I think that we know and have grappled with in our friendship is that I grew up a lot poorer than you, and so
Not my fault.
nobody said it was your fault. Incredible thing that you jumped to though. So anyway, it was a huge status symbol. I remember I think in like either third or fourth grade, every girl who had an American Girl doll would bring her American Girl doll to school every day. And you weren't allowed to like obviously have it in class, but you could bring it out at recess. And so it was a huge like have not situation of like either you have the American Girl doll, kind of like in the book, spoiler, either you have an A name or you don't.
Yeah.
Either you have an American Girl doll and you're with all the other girls with American Girl dolls, or you don't have an American Girl doll and you should die as a child. And so my grandmother, God rest her soul in heaven, it's Celia. Was my grandma.
Our Celia in heaven.
Yeah, my grandmother Celia.
Yeah.
She, meaning well, bought me just sort of like a generic doll that was like roughly the size.
A 16-foot doll. A 16-inch doll.
doll. It had like, the thing is like actually looking back now as an adult, I'm like, that was a cuter doll. No shade to American Girl dolls. But it had like a beautiful like China face. Yeah. Like she must have gotten it from like a secondhand store or something because it had like a porcelain China doll face, and then it was like the size. And I did bring it to school, and everyone was like, "That's no American Girl doll." So that would be my. Oh, and we've talked about this. I had arguably the best thing in the canon, which was like a Windows 98 American Girl doll theater maker, and it was like so bonkers. It was like all kind of 2D, and you could the cool thing is like you could like mix and match like all the sets, props, and girls So I would always use like the Molly like sets because they were the most like modern.
Yeah.
But then I always wanted to use like the Felicity and Kirsten dolls because I thought they were like had like, the prettiest dresses.
Yes, they do.
And I would make the most unhinged like Lifetime original movie, like your husband is dead and also abducted me type stories with like
couldn't you like
Felicity.
write in things and it would like computer read them?
Yeah, I do like the really scary kind
The
of like
voice was very
the
scary.
the like spooky. I'm trying to think like the voice that Stephen Hawking continued to use,
Yeah.
even so they made, sort of innovations in voice for people who've lost their speech. It was that voice. So it'd be like, Kirsten, your husband is dead and also abducted me. And then they would do like the same like sort of like gesture over and over again.
Yeah, because
It was
I had
really
it and you
good.
could do like actions.
You could do actions and you could always do like in my memory, it always like fades to black really slow between scenes. Like I don't think that was changeable.
No.
So every time you would go from scene to scene, it would just like it's like as the kids say on TikTok, fading in and out of consciousness.
Yes, yeah.
And then you're just in a different room in Molly's house.
I had that. I played it less because I didn't understand it and I was a Windows Movie Maker girl.
That's cute.
But I remember I one time wanted a scene where Kirsten said, "Come on, excuse me.
Sorry, Kirsten just sort of jumped into her
Just
in that moment.
stole me, but she said, "Come on, guys." And
Come on, guys.
It went, "Come on, guys.
Oh, that's good.
Come on, guys." And it's a vocal stim that is stuck in my head like
Forever.
to this day.
That's
Come on,
good.
guys.
Is it right there with like the not to like, IP swap, but like the Nancy Drew, it's locked.
Yeah. It's locked.
It's locked.
Can't check that off yet.
It's locked.
Still
Anyway.
need to do that.
We'll get there.
Yeah, it's all good.
Well, maybe once you finally run through the entire canon of American Girl dolls, you can see if the crew, as I call them, the girl crew,
The dolls, we call
the
them.
dolls. Oh my gosh. The dolls want to hear a little bit of Nancy Drew because I like a girl with a mystery.
We were thinking Nancy Drew and also the Dear America books, which might have been
Oh.
slightly after your time.
Wait, so I read those, but can I throw something on the
Yeah.
it's like
Go for it.
in my first 5 minutes on
Yeah.
this podcast?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I was fucking obsessed with the like Princess Diary books. Did you
Oh,
ever
the
read this?
Royal Diary?
The Royal, I was like, not the
Yes.
Princess Diaries, like the
No, but
Anne
like
Hathaway, but like
Marie Antoinette. Yeah.
Marie Antoinette. Oh my god, the Cleopatra one.
That one's
had me
crazy.
Fucking gagged when Berenice's head comes out on the platter. Spoiler, so good. So
They were crazy because they really because they're based on historical figures, they could not ignore some like non-PC
Really
things or
dark
PG
stuff.
things. There was one about like an Amazonian princess, I remember, and she gets married at like 13 and like has a baby, and they have to like figure out how to like explain that to you as a fellow child, knowing that the reading age is like 8 to 10.
The one about the last Princess of Hawaii radicalized me because like you don't ever. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, only that book. I don't think at any point in high school did they ever teach us. Oh yeah, we took Hawaii by knife point.
Yeah.
And then just like said, well, that's ours now. And so the book, like you're saying, like it was like, well, here's just like one cute year in her life where she learns about sugarcane. But at the end, they have to be like, yeah, and then she never got to rule Hawaii because of some stuff that happened.
The
And it's
epilogue.
like, fuck. Anyway, I'm sure that there's other things you want to talk about.
No, this is kind
No,
of how the
this is kind of
podcast
it. This
goes.
is kind of
Yeah.
it. Okay,
Some of
cool.
our episodes are an hour and a half, and I think we talk about the book for 40 minutes. So
Perfect.
You're sliding in right well. All right, but we are gonna get to it.
Oh my god.
So guys, meet Julie Albright, and this is exciting because so when I was growing up, I think there's a big gap. I think Kaya came out in 2002, and then Julie came out in 2007. So Kaya came out when I was like 8, and then obviously Julie came out when I was 13, so I was too old. So she's the first girl who I have like nothing on.
We're not the same age,
No.
but we're not going to say what the difference is. But I will say I found that exact same. Like, I remember Kaya,
Yeah.
and that was like right, sort of like for me, maybe like at the threshold of being like maybe a little too old for American Girl. And so then like Julie, like, absolutely, like I'd moved on
Yeah.
at that point. To
I didn't
other
even know
things-
Julie
to
came
other
out.
things I couldn't afford.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I didn't know about Julie. I think I remember hearing about it maybe like from babysitting or nannying.
Yeah.
And also like, it's funny to think about now because now it's like 50 years. But like at the time, I was like, well, that's not like that just happened. Like, why would I care about like a girl from the 70s?
Well, that's the thing they were saying on like I was looking up some little facts for for our dolls. And I found out that people were upset about that initially, being like, this is too soon. But it's the same amount of difference. When Molly came out in 1986, it was like 35, 40 years from she came out in 1987 and hers is 1944. So it was 34 years. And so I think Julie is like 40 years.
I see.
So it's like, or 35 years. So it's not that different. She is kind of, and we talked about this, Celia and I talked about this with some of the, like, with Kit and with Molly, where it did feel a little bit jarring because you're used to, like, oh, Felicity and, like, Kirsten and Samantha, where it's, like, a whole new world. And then it's, like, Kit is talking about reading, like, Robin Hood and Molly's going to, like, the movies. And you're like, this doesn't feel as historical, you know? But I like
But
this.
at least, well, here's what I would give Kit and Molly. Because I will say, you know, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but, like, I really enjoyed this book a lot more than I thought I was going to. But it still felt kind of like reading, like, it didn't necessarily feel like reading historical fiction.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you're right that, like, Kit and Molly are also 20th century girls, but they are cemented in time by a very specific event, right? Like the Great Depression or World War II, respectively. Julie, while there were some, like, sort of, like, oblique, like, glances towards the Vietnam War, I wouldn't say, like, this is a Vietnam War story. You know what I mean? Sorry, am I being too loud? I know
No,
my voice
I was
gets-
actually raising it a little
I
bit.
was bringing you up here. Thank you, 5. So I mean, I hear what you're saying, and actually that's a really good point. And it's funny to hear that there were people that were like, kind of like, not my daughter's not going to read about my childhood.
Yeah. Must feel a little too close. And she's also the first child of divorce.
Speak on it, Queen. Don't do that. Your parents are still married.
But they're divorce attorneys.
That's true.
So I
Do you think that
understand.
they're, like, spiritually divorced?
No. I think they're pretty happy. All
I
things
can-
considered.
I can never tell. Well, because, like, again, this is sort of like, this is a cool culture exchange in our friendship. Is when sometimes you tell me the stories, and I can never tell if your parents hate each other or if they're just deeply East Coast.
They're deeply East Coast.
And it's
Born
the
and
answer-
raised,
and
yeah.
the answer, and you're like, no, they love each other deeply. Like,
They never once thought about divorcing.
That's beautiful.
Even if it means they sleep in separate beds.
What?
She's
Is
okay.
that true?
It's okay. We're moving on.
Okay. Anyway,
So she is a child of divorce, and her best friend doll, which is Ivy Ling.
sure. We love Ivy.
I don't know if I love Ivy. I have thoughts.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Ivy was released at the same time, and I guess I was wondering, which I didn't research, which is how the show goes to, is they started doing the best friend dolls. So, like, for like Molly, they released the British girl that she was friends
Yeah,
with.
because they always had a best friend.
Yeah, and so they started releasing dolls of the best friend and doing like 3 mini stories about that person
I see.
to make more money.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so that,
of
like,
course.
if you were a brunette and you wanted to be, and like the book was about a brunette, that you could have a blonde or
I
something
see.
like that. And so I wonder if this is when they started releasing the best friends, or if that was before, and then they just started doing it at the same time. Because it feels kind of weird for me to release the best friend at the same time as the actual story. Because then it's like, who's the real doll? You know?
Well,
It feels weird to release a secondary doll at the same time as like a primary doll.
so you were worried that Julie wasn't centered enough in this story.
Well, it just feels like, no, I think she was. But I just think it feels weird to be like, to release a doll, like, it feels weird for Ivy. Because it feels weird to release a doll as like, and you are second automatically.
I see what you're
Like,
saying.
if you release the secondary doll, the best friend doll, like even 6 months after, it's like, and bonus. But at the same time, it's kind of like, it feels like kind of like second tier doll.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I also think it's like, you know, from a marketing perspective,
Yeah.
you're not letting people like build an anticipation of like, well, you know, I've heard this and that about Ivy, but like, what's her story? You know what I mean? Like, you don't like let like the little girls who are fans kind of like, you know, clamor
One
for that
for
a little
Ivy.
bit.
Yeah.
Want for
Yearn for Ivy. Yeah.
Yeah, where it's like, you know, Ivy could have like a mysterious secret. Like, actually, we're gonna get to that. So foreshadowing.
Ivy's secret.
Ivy's secret.
Should we just get into it?
I think I've got so much
Gotta.
to say.
All right. This was kind of crazy, I felt. Chapter
So-
1, moving day. All
right
right.
off the bat.
So I did think this was like well written because I was like, what's going on here? Because Ivy and Julie are doing cartwheels in the front yard, like having girl talk, but they're having this conversation about like missing each other and like how things are going to be different, but they're not directly saying what's happening. Then a plane flies overhead. They're like, say hi to dad. It's like,
I thought that was such a clever way of introducing a character and like letting you know something about them, which is like, my dad is a pilot and he's not here.
and he is never here.
And he's never here.
As we find out soon.
Spoiler. I guess there's no spoilers in a podcast about a book that theoretically somebody's either read or is never going
Or
to
could read in an hour.
Yeah, or could read in an hour. So, no, I should have prepped this ahead of time, but like there's like a passage right at the top that I was like, oh, this is like beautiful.
Yeah.
And it was about like her room where it was like she could see all of the indentations in the carpet of like the ghost map of like the life she used to have. And I was like, hello?
Is
Like-
she okay? Is Julie okay? No, it turns out not.
Well, and you know this is where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
What the fuck about nutmeg? Like hashtag justice for nutmeg. I'm still upset about it. That was, you're right, like where it's like you jump right in. It's two girls turning cartwheels, which is there a more like quintessential sort of like image of girlhood?
9-year-old like
Yeah.
playing in the front yard.
Yeah, two little girls turning cartwheels, saying, "I'll miss you so much." And then it's like, here's my beloved pet nutmeg. She's nuzzling me. She has soft fur. She has beautiful ears. I'll miss her. What?
What's
What do you
happening,
mean?
Julie? Hey.
What do you mean? You'll
Excuse
miss
me.
nutmeg. Where's nutmeg going? I did think it
Nowhere.
was sweet that it was like nutmeg is going to stay at the dad's house, but then Ivy's gonna watch nutmeg because dad is famously up in the sky, never here.
Okay, and this comes to my first complaint. It feels as though, and I don't know, and maybe we'll find out because we don't know, but it seems like it would make more sense for mom and the girls to stay in the house that they grew up in, the house that is stabilized in the neighborhood that Tracy and Julie are used to being in, the house that their school district is in, the house that their rabbit lives in, than rather have the girls and the mom move out and have dad live in an empty house that he's never in by himself.
I think you're completely correct. And again, we are going to get into it as things are revealed because they never come right, at least in this book, at least in like Meet Julie,
Yeah.
they never come right out and say like what is the cause of the
divorce.
separation.
We think we know, though.
But old Chel's dog knows what's really going on here. I think this book did a really good job of kind of humanizing how it must feel for a child who, because like I understand the impulse behind parents being like, we're not going to make our problem your own. We're not going to tell you about like the issues we're having in our marriage. I think that's so appropriate. But the unfortunate byproduct of that is now a kid with absolutely no context, who is still developing, has their lives entirely destabilized. And I think the book did a really good job of showing us that through Julie's eyes, where she's just like, this sucks. And he was like, even now, like at my big age, if just suddenly like somebody was like, yeah, no, you like everything that you like and everything that you do, you can't go hang out with Caroline anymore. And you can't like, you can't go see your friends. You can't live like your house that you like and all your stuff that you have. You don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like,
No,
So-
I think like, and they will get into it, but I think they did a good job kind of explaining that just like, to like the like how someone like Julie, who's like a 9-year-old, might feel the smaller like things of divorce as like
Yeah.
an inconvenience and a frustration, without fully like understanding yet like why it's like so hard to deal with. Like I think just like we get like later on when she's like upset with like how this school doesn't have what her old school had, or how like I think like a good example in like the next chapter is like her ruler thing where it's like, well, I don't have anything of mine because it's all in boxes right now, and just kind
Yeah.
of like how I guess destabilizing it is in a way that like you see other kids who don't have to deal with that, and it's kind
Yeah.
of like, oh, this is unfair that like I have all this. And I mean my
I was gonna
parents
say
are
like
together.
Caroline.
But, like, I had friends, like, growing up, who had, like, divorced parents. I remember even my freshman roommate, like, and we were in college at the time, but she had divorced parents, and, like, they did not get along that well. And, like, I remember her, like, having to think through, like, making a spreadsheet for Parents Weekend because they both insisted on coming, of, like, how she was dividing up her time for Parents Weekend and, like, who would go to what.
Foil.
And I remember thinking, like, dang, I am so glad, like, and it's just something she was used to doing since she was, like, 7, was being like, all right, so I'll do, like, the first morning at Christmas at, like, my mom's house, and then I'll go to my dad's house for, like, night, but my mom will be upset because she's having friends over, and her friends want to see me, and it's like, I was like, I've never had to think about this ever. I just, like, existed as a child without, like, the emotional responsibility of, like, making my parents happy.
Yeah. Well, I will
Thanks, Mom and
say-
Dad.
Well, I will say, you know, divorce is a spectrum, I guess. But I've also had friends where like their divorced parents were constantly sort of like vying for their affection in a way that was like
Pressure.
deeply unhealthy,
Yeah.
and pressuring. Of like, oh, I guess you just want to spend time with your dad then. It's like, yeah, he's my dad.
Yeah, well, and I think we talked about this, and one thing that I like about the American Girl doll books, that they've done in different ways, and there's a really good book of Kit's that kind of did it, where Kit's Christmas book, her best friend family isn't affected by the depression, and Kit is, and so her friend wants to do all these things they usually do for Christmas, like go to like the ballet and go to dinner, and like Kit's having to tell her they can't, and like Ruby is like upset because she doesn't understand why. And it's like very like I feel like it was very relatable if I was a kid and like saw that like, oh, I like from either side, if you were from like a poorer family or from a richer family and got to see the perspective of that. And so I do like that American Girl does things like, oh, her parents are divorced, and it's like they aren't like long divorced at this point. It seems like it's not like too fresh, but it's like in the moving stages of like, all right, life is changing now. And I think there's, like I said, this is probably 4 kids whose parents are going through that. And I think it would be comforting as a child to read something and be
Yeah.
like, I'm like Julie. Like, I understand what she's feeling.
I'm like, Julie, except I get to keep my pet.
Yeah, I have a problem with this apartment complex not letting.
Well, and it's not even an apartment complex, as we learn.
Oh, yeah, it's just like
It's just the apartment above the shop.
So I feel like a rabbit they could keep in there.
They could. That's the thing is that as a longtime apartment dweller,
Yeah.
typically no pets is about like cats and dogs. It's not about animals that live like in an enclosure, right? So I think the mom was just being difficult.
You think Mom doesn't like nutmeg?
I think the mom is so self-obsessed, but we're gonna get there.
All right, let's get to it. All right, so
Hashtag justice for nutmeg.
So like I said, Julie and Ivy are like upset, but like they're being, I think, pretty well spirited because like they're moving across town, which is kind of the funny thing. So
Okay, so that was that was the crazy reveal, right? Is like they're crying in like the front yard. She's saying goodbye to Nutmeg. I'm like, oh my god, she can't bring Nutmeg. Is this like maybe in the 70s you couldn't bring animals on a plane? But actually, that's not true because my mom, who was also a child of divorce in the 70s, would bring her hamster on the plane with her. She told me. So I was like, no, you can bring a Nutmeg on the plane. And then I find out they're going fucking 20 minutes up the street. Sorry,
Yeah.
do we swear in this?
it's
podcast?
okay, yeah.
Okay, they're going 20 minutes up the street.
I know. So it was kind of like a little bit of like I liked how they were like, oh, normal girl. Oh wait, divorce, moving. Oh wait, across town.
Yeah.
And so Tracy comes out, Julie's groovy older sister.
Teen sister or teenage hair freak, as she's described.
Teenage hair freak Julie comes out.
Teenage hair freak was really good.
And so she comes out and she's like, we got to get a move on, like get ready to go. So Ivy gives her a friendship bracelet. And then she also writes on Julie's one of those girls who writes on her sneakers, which of course she is. She writes AFA. Ooh, she's like a friend always. And this like really bothered me.
That was, yeah,
Because why not?
that was tough. I hadn't heard that before. No Lilas?
No Lilas, no TTYL, no BFF. No BFF.
I don't know if BFF does feel like of like an
It's from the 90s. I looked all this up. So
okay.
it was first used in the 70s, but only in like 1 or 2 random instances. It wasn't like pop culture. And then BFF started to be used in the 90s. But so I was like, oh, is AFA a thing? No, it wasn't.
I just made it up.
But
Well,
I do think
maybe-
like best friend forever sounds better than a friend always. Like
Yeah.
you're my best friend forever.
AFA.
I feel like you would accidentally come up with that.
Maybe this writer did the same research you did, found that there was no analog, and was like, well,
I'll
it's my
make
time
up
to
one.
shine. Yeah.
AFA, it doesn't roll off the tongue.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It seems like an American Film Academy.
Yeah.
So that was tough.
I didn't love it.
So they head on their way and they have a very typical we're moving dinner on top of moving boxes with Chinese food because they're also in San Francisco.
I know. San Francisco, which I do feel like is maybe the most 1970s place
Deeply
that one
70s.
could live.
Yeah.
Very famously 70s.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a great choice.
And they're living above mom's.
And they're in like Haight-Ashbury too.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you ever been to San Francisco?
No.
I thought so. I have this feeling. I thought about my friend Caroline, and I was like, she's never been to San Francisco.
Not yet. I only went to
She's
California.
never rode on a cable car.
No, I've only been to California recently.
That's so true.
Yeah.
To San Diego.
San Diego.
Fun fact: San Diego was also the first place I ever went to in California.
It was pretty cool.
Oh my gosh, AFA.
AFA.
Aw.
but they're eating Chinese food. They're kind of like getting used to their apartment. Tracy, hair freak, is like excited.
Hair freak. Yeah, she's like, I'm gonna do my hair all up and down this
The
apartment.
new neighborhood is cool. It's groovy.
It's Haight-Ashbury.
Mom is excited too because they're above her shop, Glad Rags. All right, Chelsea, go for it.
So I'm saying this is why the mom moved. So in my mind, the mom starts the business. The mom is like, well, my kids are older now. My oldest is a hair freak, and Julie is now like, entering into like sort of like adolescence. She'll get there soon. So now it's time for me to spread my wings. I'm gonna do what I've always wanted. I'm gonna open up. And like, I'm sorry, I have to assume because of like norms, right? That like if hair freak is like say 16 and Julie is 9, then the mom is probably like 35 to 40, right? So what 35-year-old woman doesn't want to like go to the coolest part of town and be like, this is just my store for all the things that I think are cool. I'm sorry, I want to do that. Everybody wants to fucking do
But
that.
you don't have kids.
Yeah, that's why I don't have kids, so I can maybe have a Glad Rags. But she does have kids. So I'm like, she goes there, she spreads her wings. She's like, actually, I'm my own person. You have your wings and your plane. I have my own wings. There's somebody that she meets that we're going to talk about in a second.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, she's got to cart her kids across town to put them in an apartment above her store where Nutmeg can't go. Hashtag justice for Nutmeg.
Yeah, it does feel a little...
It just feels a little selfish.
Especially because in the same breath as they're eating dinner, a neighbor walks in, a man named Hank, who Mom has already met, like coincidentally.
Oh, yeah, sure, he knows Hank, and Hank can just come into her apartment. What do you think that means? What do you think that the mom and Hank have been doing in that apartment upstairs when they're supposed to be running Glad Rags?
Because he brought zucchini bread, and so that means...
And
look,
we all know what zucchini bread means.
Well, you know what it means. It means that this is the 1970s. So there's no texting. So it's not like he's like, what day did you move? What day are you guys moving in? Or like, are you moving in soon? Yeah, we're moving in today. They had to know this ahead of time. So he knew when they were moving in. So she has had conversations with Hank
multiple
recently.
conversations, plural.
Yeah. So this is interesting. Hank is an interesting character that I'm clocking right now.
Oh, I'm absolutely clocking Hank. Hank knew too much. Hank, also just like the audacity of like, oh, don't talk to her kids.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know this again because famously your parents love each other so much from their separate bedrooms. But like typically in a divorce, one thing that's very, very sensitive is when a new partner will meet kids, right?
Yes,
like,
I'm sure.
Like some people are like, oh, it has to be like a certain amount of months and the other parent needs to be able to sign off, like all sorts of things, which totally get it, right? So it's like Hank just comes moseying in with his zucchini bread. And, right now he's just being posited as like a neighbor. But he sure seemed comfortable in that apartment, is all I'm saying.
Well, and it also like it feels weird to me that like for Mom, this is more mom critique. On the first day that I'm moving my daughters because of a divorce into a new place to let a stranger come over and be like, hey, I would be like, hey, look, maybe like come over next week and like bring something because they are like adjusting to this situation.
I know we're sounding like very anti-woke right now about like this, single mom trying to like spread her wings. But I'm sorry, like, why would a man be there? Like, don't let a man in the apartment. What are you talking about?
It does feel crazy. And even though Julie doesn't feel that bad about that, she does feel bad about living in the new place because it's scary and different. And so
it's downtown.
It's downtown San Francisco.
It's downtown San Francisco in the 70s.
In the 70s.
She could have become, I guess the Manson stuff already happened, but like she could have become one of the Manson girls.
She could have. She
could have.
Could be a late Manson girl.
A late Manson, as we know.
But Mom comes in and talks to her and drops some lore about living in France as a kid.
Again, this is like, it's all like, I can see this mom so clearly in my mind.
Yeah.
Of like, she was like, I used to live in France. But now who am I? I'm just some mother in the suburbs of San Francisco. I don't even have my own store like I always dreamed I would. Where's my cool neighbor who brings me zucchini bread? I can't let the children I'm responsible for stop me from living my dream.
Yeah.
And
so you're of the mindset that Mom is someone who maybe if she wasn't a 70s woman would not have had kids.
Yes,
Okay.
I believe.
I see that.
And also, I'm sorry, like, there's that whole section where she's like, yeah, I first moved to France and I didn't know anybody and I didn't know French. And this woman kept saying, ta robe est belle, meaning like your dress is pretty. But I thought she was saying, I want to rub a bell. And so I I wrote, so the mom is stupid.
Oh, I would have thought that too.
But she knows that person's speaking a different language.
Yeah.
So why would she be like, well, I bet this language, she was 10. I know you don't spend a ton of time with kids, but like 10 is old enough to know how a different language works.
Okay, I'll give you that.
I'm just saying.
I think the one thing that mom makes you think of is in the show 90 Day Fiance. There are many selfish parents who have been selfish their entire lives and are now marrying a foreign fiance. And their kids are like, please don't do this. Like, this is the 9th time you've like, and the parent is always like, I'm doing this for me. Like, I need to live for me now. And it's like, you've always lived for you.
Yeah.
Like, maybe sometimes we have kids, we don't, maybe that's why
That's
we
kind
don't
of the
have
thing.
kids, if we don't want to live for ourselves.
Absolutely. Well, that's why I don't have kids, because I want to live for myself. And I know that I'm selfish, so I'm not going to like put that on a child. But I even wrote, because you were just saying like, oh, so you think this is like a woman who might not have had children. I literally wrote, these are the horrors that compulsory parenthood can bring, because Julie's mom definitely grew up in a time where it was not optional. It was just understood that she was going to become somebody's wife and somebody's mother.
Yeah.
But now she is coming into her own,
And it's the
she's learning
70s.
into the 70s, and things are different. And as we're about to learn, women can have a new title, Ms. And she's like, what could my life be like as a Ms? And it's like, well, maybe you should have thought of that before you had Hair Freak and Julie.
Yeah, it's so true. Chapter 2, Capitals and Cupcakes. And my first note on this was that it really took a while for this chapter name to make sense. I was reading it for like 90%. I was like, I don't get why this is called Capitals and Cupcakes.
I like that you just kept it in like front of mind the whole time, and you're like, okay, but when are we going to get to the capitals or the cupcakes? Like,
Well, it's
I don't
because
know.
the chapter titles in American Girl books are always like,
Really on the nose.
yeah, it's like Speaking
so
Rain
was this
found.
one.
And you're like, okay, so it's like, are we gonna find Speaking Rain? And the next chapter is Speaking Rain found. And you're like, okay, so
well, that's where
we're
I was
gonna find her.
Yeah. Or
and-
like I liked one that comes later where it's just like girls can play too, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I wonder if girls can play.
There's one of the authors is someone named Jan, makes the best titles because it's just one word. It'll be like Lost.
I like that because then it's more of like a vibe,
Yeah.
and less of like a like a story beat, as you're saying.
It's like Dead. You're like, Marta, no.
yeah, for like the Great Depression, it's just like broke.
Yeah, it's like money. The attic, my room.
No.
But this one did bother me because I was like, I was hung up on it, one could say. I was waiting. And then we had to wait till the very end because we start with Julie going to Jack London Elementary.
Yeah, that was fun.
That sounds like a like saucy British like punk rock star.
Wasn't Jack London like the author that wrote? He wrote some sort of like dog or wolf adjacent media, like White Fang or Dances with Wolves or Call the Wild. Like I swear,
Oh, I
it's
see
Jack
what you're
London.
saying.
It's Jack London and some sort of canine.
Gotcha. Okay. I thought it was just like fun.
No.
Okay. But
Go on.
I was like, Jack London, cool. So I must be from San Francisco.
I'm
I
Jack
guess.
London.
I'm Jack London.
Oh, maybe so.
And you're listening to NPR.
Would you
Tiny
be listening
desk.
to the BBC?
The BBC.
We're so good at this.
Yeah.
Should we do the rest of the podcast?
In British accents.
Oh.
We can say that for the Royal Diaries.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Anyway, keep going.
So, she misses her BFF, and I did write, Chelsea, did you ever switch schools in elementary?
Yeah. Do you want to say what I wrote?
Do you want to say it?
Fine, I'll say it. Yeah, I went to 6 different elementary schools.
6.
We were
What
not,
years?
We were not wealthy, and
Yeah.
we were divorced.
Yeah,
and
famously.
we were all divorced, famously. Let's see, St. Margaret Mary's, Florida Elementary, one more in New Orleans that I can't remember the name of, and then Birdville, and then Oakmont, and then Como Montessori.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, it was like, what would that be? Like a little more than like one a year. I
Okay,
guess.
that's a lot.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I moved around all the time, and I mean, it was fine. Like I liked it. I think I was a little more hair freak, where I was like, I'm gonna make new friends, I'm gonna meet new people.
I only switched elementary schools once.
I'm surprised you switched at all.
Well, I was being bullied, and so I switched, and then I got bullied at the new school too.
No.
I know, it was tough.
sometimes it was okay, and sometimes I got horrifically bullied because I was like the new kid. And I think especially like as things like as I got older, I think people were more locked into social groups. It got like harder. Like when you're like in kindergarten, nobody gives a shit. But like 4th grade I remember was like really tough. But then 5th grade I went to Como Montessori, and then I was able to make friends because Montessori school is a little different.
Yeah, I went to Montessori. That's where I was bullied, unfortunately.
Oh, that's sad. Sorry.
But so we get like Julie's new school.
Yeah.
We get to meet the principal, Mr. Sanchez, who's a stickler for the rules.
Yeah, he's gonna give you a demerit.
Demerits, guys.
He's gonna demerit you.
And we meet her teacher, I think Miss Hunter.
Oh, Ms. Hunter.
And yeah, and it's MS. And everyone's like, what do you mean by MS? It's either MISS or MRS. Tell us your marital status.
Why is your hair up if you're a miss? And she's like, I'm Ms.
And she's like, that means none of your business.
Which was a cool comeback to a bunch of 9-year-olds.
Yeah, and then Julie, like, in a thing a therapist would analyze, was like, I wonder if my mom's gonna go by Ms.
Yeah, I know. That was great.
And so she's going to school. School is tough. She doesn't have a ruler because it's packed away. And these girls are snickering about her not have a ruler. So this cool boy, Thomas Jefferson, aka TJ, gives her a ruler.
Loved.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. Who names their kid Thomas Jefferson?
Thomas Jefferson just seems to have kind of been like waiting in stasis for Julie to come
For
and
a
be
friend.
his friend.
He has no friends. And he's like,
but he's also not picked on. He's also like good at basketball.
He's
famously a group activity.
He's pretty good at v-ball.
Yeah.
And he tells her that the girls who are snickering are AAA, actually Angelica and like Amanda, and they're like mean. And I'm like, of course, like it's so middle school classic or elementary school classic to have 3 girls who have the same letter name who are like, we're best friends.
Yeah.
And no one, you can't be friends unless if you don't have a letter like name that starts the same. I'm like, arbitrary. Starts with an A too.
I think that's fair. To me, what would have made, if I could have like punched up this beat for this author, I would have made all of their last names start with the same letter. Because to me, it's like, that's how you end up always in the same class and sometimes always sitting next to each other in elementary school. See, I know this because I went to 6 elementary schools. So they, they do it like by name, at least at first, but they usually do it by last name.
Yeah.
So it's like if they had all been like, Albright, Abshire, or Allen, then it would have been like, oh, these are the A girls.
But they're not advanced enough to think of that as kids.
I see what you're saying. That's fair.
Yeah. So she kind of is like talking to this new guy. He seems cool, but the teacher says, stop talking. We're learning about the metric system because we're all going to switch to the metric system soon. And I was
the
like,
president said so.
And I was like, when did that happen? And what happened to that?
I don't know why it didn't happen. I think maybe just like sheer like force of will on behalf of Americans.
That's what I read.
But I knew about it because I used to, as a latchkey kid, sit and watch I Love the 70s on VH1. Do you remember those? I Love the 70s and I Love the 80s. And they talked about it. And I remember seeing like there's like I assume it's the president.
Yeah.
He's like on like giving it like a national address and he goes,
like Gerald Ford.
America will use the metric system. And then jokes on him.
Well, and then I read about it because I was like, why didn't we switch? And you're right. It was like sheer stubbornness. It was feeling like, I will not learn something new. And then also a lot of companies were like, well, all of our like manufacturing stuff is like, this is going to cost us millions to like change everything.
That part I think is slightly more practical, although I think it could be overcome. But like,
yeah, because they would have to make new stuff. It'd be like, why don't we just every time you make something new, now it's metric.
It's called phasing it out.
Yeah.
Because like not to be Eurocentric, because you know how I feel.
Yeah.
But like, it is a better system. Like it's just it's just a better system.
So I get in fights with my European friends about this all the time. I agree that the metric system is better, but I disagree that we should be using Celsius to describe human temperatures.
Well, I guess you're right. I didn't think about that. I don't consider the temperature to be a part. I'm thinking of like the like volume and mass and like grams, meters.
But if
liters.
you include like Celsius, I think Celsius is an insane way to talk about like human temperature.
Celsius is so dumb. Like the 0 and 100, like it just doesn't fit
but you only
properly.
You only live between 0 and like 36.
That's what I'm
like,
saying.
What are you telling me? It's 6 degrees outside and it's like balmy.
That's what I'm saying. Is like it's compressed in such a way that like I don't think it's as like.
I think it makes sense for boil 0 to 100. Sure, boil water. 100 makes sense. I get that like Fahrenheit being 430 or something is crazy.
Yeah.
But I do think like if it is 60 degrees outside, I am 60% hot.
Yeah.
Like, that makes sense to
I think
me.
it's more intuitive.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
And I have tried to ask my European friends who have told me that they like Celsius. I'm like, okay, well, how hot do you feel right now? Like on a percentage scale. And they'll be like 70%. And I'm like, it's 73 degrees.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
This is the biggest thing because I do a lot of work in England, as you know, which I think, again, slight pivot, but like I have a friend who's English, and I once said something about like, well, because I'm gonna go do something in Europe, and she's like, we're not European, we're British, and I'm like, I don't think you should say that. I think first of all, I think like politically it is part of Europe, maybe not part of the Union anymore, but like it is on that continent. Yeah, it's Europe. Yeah, you're European, and she was like, we're not European, we're British, and I was like,
That feels like the same thing now when people, it's like so chronically online, but when people are saying that like people from the US can't say they're American.
oh, I see. I haven't seen that one.
No,
But
it's like people are like, "Ugh, it's a whole continent. You can't claim it." I'm like, it's part of our name. Shut up.
yeah, it's
What
the
am I going to
United
be, the
States
United
of
Statesian? Like, ugh.
yeah.
It feels the same. Where it's like, okay, this is like
Although
nitpick.
turning the demonym into statesman could kind of fuck a little
I'm
bit.
a statesman.
I'm a statesman.
I'm a statesman.
Yeah.
We can start that. I kind of like that. Kind of gave me a chill.
Yeah. Well, also
Finally,
like,
some pride in America.
That's what I'm saying. It's like if we're like American is too toxic at this point, and we gotta move on. It's like no, like I'm a statesman. I loved this. I loved the statesman perform like the turnout, the show out of the statesman at the Olympics. Like statesman crushed it.
Yeah, guys, starting now,
Statesman.
We're statesmen.
Anyway,
all right, but you know who is having a hard time as a statesman?
tell
Julie.
me. Oh God, Julie's having a really hard time.
She is coming home from school every day, latchkey kid alone.
Very
Mom isn't home.
a little scared.
Tracy isn't home yet, and so she's sad, and place is lonely, and she has to study the state capitals, and she doesn't get them. And then when Tracy comes
what's
home,
to get?
I know. Tracy comes home, and she complains to Tracy, and is like, I don't get these. I can't remember these. And Tracy's like, well, have you ever heard of a mnemonic device before? And Julie's like,
that's not how she says.
You're right. She's too cool. Hair freak Tracy.
Yeah, she goes, I'm not just a hair freak, I'm also
a mnemonic freak.
A mnemonic freak.
She's like, have you ever heard of a groovy thing called a mnemonic device? And she explains mnemonics to us. Fun word for kids to learn. And I'm sure no one knew how to pronounce that if you read this as a 9-year-old. And so then she's like, you know what? Why don't I just show you? And she grabs her little sister's hand and takes her to the most insane cupcake shop I've ever seen, where they go and she's like, 12 cupcakes, please.
That was the first part where I was like, that's crazy.
That's a lot of
that's 12
cupcakes.
cupcakes for 2 young girls.
2 young girls. And then the whole shop's deal is you get to decorate them yourself. And I'm like, so they're just baking raw cupcakes and like hoping people come in to decorate them all day?
Naked cupcakes, not raw. But no, I'm gonna tell you, I think this is $1 million idea, and I think we should start this business. I think we should have because we don't have children, I think we should have our combination, like curated, like secondhand shop of all the things we think are cool. And then also in the back, here's a cupcake, here's a cookie. We bought them from HEB. You can decorate them however you want.
We just have to take the icing off the HEB cupcakes already.
Yeah, or we just buy them naked. Like
naked
get a
guppies?
deal. Like go there at like 6 a.m. I don't want to give out TM. Like don't take my business idea. Go there at 6 a.m. Make friends with the baker lady.
The bakers.
Be like, how much for like 12
a raw cupcake?
Not raw. Again, you're gonna confuse them. How much for like 12 naked cupcakes? And it's probably less.
Yeah.
And then we charge people like $2 a piece to decorate them.
And we only have 2 little girls come in and order 12.
No. Can you imagine how popular this would be with like the sororities and stuff around here?
That's a good idea.
$1 million idea. TM,
Come to
TM,
Austin
TM.
to Cupcake Stop.
There used to be a place near campus when I was at UT that was like, this was an insane business thing. It was custom cookie and custom milk. And so they were raw. So you went in and you chose like your dough and then like all your fillings. And then if you wanted frosting or topping on the cookie, and they then like sort of like flash cooked it. And then you could have like the different types of milk, like dairy and non-dairy. And then you could also add flavors to the milk. And then you had your own custom cookie and custom milk. And it was unbelievably hot and popular for about 2 months. And then everyone was like, yeah, but I'm poor and I can't keep spending $14 on one cookie with milk. Like,
ugh, but I get it as a college kid.
Yeah.
When you have money for the first time that
And
you're like, and no rules.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is what being an adult is about. It's about custom designing my own cookie and sitting with my friends and and then not eating for the rest of the day.
One of my most powerful moments in college was we were like in the dining hall, and there's this like freezer there that had like ice cream and stuff in it. It also had like full ass like ice cream cakes. And one day my friend was crashing out, and she came to our dorm with an ice cream cake. We're like, "Where'd you get that?" And she's like, "From the like dining hall." And we're like, "You just bought one?" She goes, "Yeah." She's like, "You can." She's like, "You can just buy a ice cream cake if you want." And I was like, "I guess you don't need like a birthday or like a celebration." It was like eye opening for me. I was like, I could just buy an ice cream cake.
Well, now I want an ice cream cake.
I can get one.
Okay. Well, but tell them what they were doing with it. It wasn't just like Tracy wanted 12 cupcakes.
Okay, so yeah, so Tracy's idea was that they basically would go, and for the state capitals, which just so happened to be 12 that Julie couldn't remember, they were going to like come up with a mnemonic device, and then they would like draw a picture on top of it, like for like Lincoln, Nebraska.
It was like a top hat,
like a Lincoln hat, and so then they did that, and then Julie like eats the cupcake, and then guess who comes by the cupcake shop?
I thought this was creepy.
Like a fucking freak.
Hank.
Okay,
it's one thing to be at their house because he's obviously doing their mom, but he's now down the street at the cupcake place. Was he watching them?
And he's like, "What are you girls doing?" And she's like, Julie's like,
"None of your business, strange man."
But Julie has no stranger danger. And she's
she has
"I
no
just ate
fear.
Nebraska." And then chapter ends.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's why we called that chapter. We should have called it School.
Ruler.
Yeah.
Thomas Jefferson.
Triple A.
Thomas J. TJ. Demerit.
And then we get
Demerit exclamation point would have kind of gone.
That would Look, I think the best way to name a chapter is one word exclamation point.
Oh yeah, about Hank showing up, I was like, I've had about enough of this dude. Like, I don't want to see his face again.
Well, I got bad news for you. All right. He shows up in, I think, almost every chapter.
He, in some ways, is the second girl more than Ivy. They should have done a meet Hank instead of meet Ivy. He's everywhere.
I wonder how well it would have sold if they gave like an 18-inch adult man doll.
What if a child had a grandma like mine? Rest in peace, Celia. And like, instead of getting like your American Girl doll on Christmas, she got you the Hank doll. Like, here's your adult man. Although he would have done numbers in my house because I needed an 18-inch adult man doll because, again, my Barbies were always running from a man that they had just left. So I'd always put my Barbies like in that little, like that sort of like flat thing that's behind the back seat. Like it's like, like window and then back seat and flat thing. I just put my Barbies on there facing back. And then like my mom's friends or whoever was in the car would be like, "What's the Barbie looking at?" I'm like, "She's looking to see if she sees her ex-husband's car because he's following us."
I bet a child therapist would have loved to hear that, Chelsea.
Oh, a child therapist would have hated to see me come in. Anyway, I had about enough of this dude. I don't want to see him again, but we got to move on.
Yeah, chapter 3, jump shots and rebounds.
Look, I do think this kind of works on a couple levels because obviously there's the sort of on the nose. We're going to be talking about basketball, but there's also like, I know what a jump shot is. It's where you shoot, but you also jump.
Yeah.
Rebound, I think might be a bad thing. Like, I think it might be like...
Rebound is when it hits the back of the thing and comes back.
Yeah. Okay. Hashtag sports girl over here. But like so that's what I'm saying is like, it's a little bit like, it's like, like one step forward, one step back.
Yeah.
Which is thematically relevant.
Which is, I think, exactly what happens.
Yeah. So keep going.
Julie is like walking through school, still hating it, but then a basketball rolls out. Like
yeah, also, much like Hank is just like sort of there, much like Hank and TJ, just sort of like waiting in stasis for like...
Always there.
Like, Julie is kind of living a little bit of like a Truman Show life where it's like she moves through space and then the world sort of rearranges itself around like whatever she needs to happen next.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she sees the basketball, and little do we know, but now we do. Julie's a basketball star.
Oh, she's an absolute pro. She's the Caitlin Clark of 1970s. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
She picks
Sports
it up.
girl.
She picks up and she starts like dribbling it. She dribbles into the auditorium, and who's there? TJ, Thomas Jefferson. And he's like, "Hey, you ball?" And she's like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Cool, I'm trying out for the school team. Like, want to help me do some layups?" And so she and TJ like play basketball, and he's like, "Hey, the auditions are next." Auditions. Sports girl denied. Tryouts are next week. Do you want to like practice with me? We can try out together. And she's like, "Sure, I love that idea." He's like, "Well, it's only boys, but I'm sure they'll let you play."
Oh, TJ, you feminist. You have no idea.
And so then Julie's like, oh, wow. And she starts to actually look forward to school a little bit. She's like, I have something to look forward to after school. How
I've
fun.
got my best friend,
TJ, Thomas Jefferson.
and I can join the basketball team.
We're playing basketball.
Like Caitlin Clark.
I've had this song stuck in my head since we read this book.
That's great.
And then she's also excited because it's weekend with Dad.
Dad weekend.
And that means she gets to hang out with Ivy. So Dad comes to pick them up bright and early Saturday morning. She rushes up to the
waiting
car.
by the door.
She's waiting by the door. She's excited. Tracy comes out with her hair in curlers and is like,
hair freak.
I'm not going. And Julie's like, why not? She goes, I'm just not going. So Julie gets in the car and Dad's like, where's Tracy? And she's like, she said she's not coming. So then Dad goes to talk to Tracy and they have like a little kerfuffle at the door. The Dad comes back without Tracy, dejected. And I was like, this is actually, I'm kind of glad they did that.
It made me a little bit sad. Like not as in like, I think there's anything wrong with that scene. I agree. Like, I'm glad they did that. But I'm saying like, I had a genuine emotion of it where like my gut reaction was like, I felt sad for the dad. But then I was also like, again, using like literary thinking skills, I was like, maybe Tracy knows something that we don't. Yeah. Like Tracy's a little bit older, right? Like maybe she's clocked something that like we don't yet understand. And again, you're so right. Like it put us like in the place of Julie, whereas like Julie felt like a little bit caught in the middle. She was also like empathetic enough to understand that her dad seems sad, but like we're getting all that through Julie's perspective. It's not like the dad came in and was like, well, your bitch sister's not coming. Like he
didn't say anything about it.
He was appropriate about it, but like she could sense,
that he was talking. Because it's not even like she clocks it really, but it's basically Dad's talking less than she expected. And I do think it's interesting to show because, like we said, Tracy's like 15 or 16, so she's going through. And not that I'm not gonna say there's no age that's probably easy for a kid to go through divorce, but I have heard from like friends and stuff that it sometimes is harder when you're slightly older because your parents do kind of talk to you about more things, and you do like have a little bit more of an understanding of like what's like. I feel like when you're 9, your parents can be like, oh, mommy and daddy are just like happy you're separate. Yeah. And so we're gonna like live here, it's gonna be fun. But you can't say that to like a 15-year-old without them being like, what do you mean you're happy you're separate? Like, so Tracy probably does know more about it. Oh, especially because mom probably like has an unhealthy like what is it called, like parentification relationship with Tracy, where she's like triangulating.
They're so like in cahoots. Yeah. Absolutely. No, I mean, I think you're absolutely right because like my parents got divorced when I was like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So that's why I think, like I was saying, like I never had like an issue like changing schools or like living in apartments or anything.
So it was what you always did.
That's what I always did. And I do have some memories of my parents together, but like they're very, very few and I was very young. Whereas like then my mom remarried when I was 9. And that person was in my life until I was 18 when he left us via text message. Cool guy. Definitely still talk to him. No, I do not. But like that hit me a lot harder.
Yeah.
Even though arguably, that was always like my stepdad and not like my dad. But like because that
had been more stable part of your brain.
Yeah, I had spent so many formative years with like, this is my family unit. And I also thought that they were like deeply in love.
Yeah.
To have that kind of like blind side.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Was like, ugh. And I've talked to friends whose parents got divorced when they were like more like Julie's age, even like 10 or 11. And they just had like a stronger concept. Like they have a stronger sense of self.
Yeah.
Like there's like so much of that is sort of like anchoring their world.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it, like you said, I think it depends on like how much of your life is like established in that. Like I similarly have friends whose parents got divorced when they were like 3 or 4 and they are kind of like, oh yeah, like it happened. Like I don't really remember them being together, so it's kind of like this is always how it's been. And then I have friends whose parents got divorced when they were like 13, 14 and they have like much stronger feelings about like it because it is like a destabilizing thing that happens. And I think it is confusing. Even, I mean, my mom's parents got divorced when my mom was like 22 and she had trouble with it. Like, and she was even living at home, but it was just like, that wasn't supposed to happen,
I think when you're like an adult or almost an adult, the destabilizing part is more like your parents are, your example for relationships. And now you're like, well, maybe I don't understand relationships at all. I think the really hard thing is when you're like 9, 10, 11 years old and this is your whole world, and you're like, oh, well, like Julie, like now my whole life is changing. Where I live is changing. How I identify myself, like how my mom identifies.
Well, that's even the interesting thing that Tracy is like, she's like, I'm 15, I don't have to go. It's like the courts,
they
like,
technically true.
Like, they can't make me go.
Yeah.
Like, And I was like, huh, I want to know more about Tracy and Dad's relationship, basically.
Yeah, no, it's
That's how
really
I feel.
interesting.
But Dad tries to salvage the day, and so he takes Ivy and Julie to Ghirardelli Square. Is that how you say it? Ghirardelli?
Ghirardelli.
Ghirardelli Square. And they ride the cable cars.
Very
and
fun.
They have a very, like, let's show everything that would happen in kooky San Francisco.
Yes, absolutely. It's also such like cool dad energy of just
Yeah.
like, oh, you've been staying home with mom all day working in her store. Well, come on,
I have
with
one day a
Dad.
week that I take
Let's
care
drink
of you.
hot chocolate. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have fun. And then Julie's telling them all about her new school. And she's like, I think I'm going to play for the basketball team, even though it's only for boys. And Dad's like, hold the phone. No, you're not. That's for boys. Sports are
He's
for
like,
boys.
take that phone, hang it
He's
up.
like, I know I've always played basketball with you and encouraged you to play basketball, but I didn't think this would become something that you thought you could do.
Yeah. They could be too rough with you, Julie.
Yeah, he's like, they're not going to like you being there. They're going to beat the shit out of you. And then,
Like, hello?
And then she's like, well, Title IX, something I just learned about, said that, like, girls can play sports if there's no team for them, like that girl who plays football. And he goes, yeah, she gets the shit beat out of her. I'm not going to have that happen to you. And Ivy's like, you can get hurt in gymnastics, too. Shut up, Ivy. No one cares.
Yeah. Also, I thought that, I thought it was a good point because, like, football is so much more full contact than basketball.
Then middle school basketball?
Yeah. I mean, I know basketball can, I've seen Caitlin Clark, famously, but, like, they can get up on each other, but, like, I don't think that's the...
Well, the thing that I think is also different, too, is, and this is why we'll get into it in a second, but, like, why I was slightly confused by why this is such an issue was not that it's, like, I feel like a lot of middle schools and she's not in middle school, she's in elementary school. A lot of elementary schools have co-ed teams because they're all like, the problem with having co-ed teams as you get older is boys do just grow bigger and become stronger.
Yes.
When they're all 9 years old.
They're all prepubescent. You're absolutely right.
They're the same.
If anything, she's going to get taller than the boys likely sooner, right? Like, there's always that weird period around like 5th or 6th grade where the girls all shoot up taller than the boys.
The boys are like this.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it was completely ridiculous. I wasn't alive in the 70s, so I can absolutely believe that this is the way they behaved about it. But no, I think it's
just fun. I guess it's just funny, and this is why we read these books. It's like, from our cultural point of view, I was very confused why Dad was so like, not shoot for your dreams,
daughter's
Julie.
9. Like,
he's like, hey, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But they kind of like wash over it, and Dad says he'll think about it. And then he's putting her to bed.
We can talk about it at career day.
Yeah, and he's like, can't wait to come to career day. And she's like, it's this Monday. I'm so excited because you have the coolest career and everyone's going to think you're so cool and it's going to give me street cred at school. And he's like, wouldn't miss it for the world. Chapter 4, career day. Dad misses it.
They should have called it Alone at Career Day. No, look, I'm sorry.
Abandoned.
I'm sorry. As a child of divorce, as we've established, I could see this coming 1,000,000 miles away. I was like, there's no way that
no way that man was coming.
That dad could accidentally crash his plane next to the elementary school and he still wouldn't be in there. No.
So Julie is waiting and she's watching all these kids have their parents come up and she keeps looking, and like every time a new parent comes in, she like thinks it's Dad and it's not Dad. And then finally, fucking Mom walks in and she's like, oh no, Dad can't come. Mom's gonna talk about her gross ass like secondhand like tchotchke shop. This is gonna be humiliating. And then Mom comes in and wows the crowd.
She really does. They love her like blue jean handbags.
Yeah.
They love her foot cutout rug, the foot rug. And then this was the one that kind of took me out.
Yeah.
Because as you know, like, I love a thrift. I love
a craft
and I
too.
love a craft. I was actually making new house numbers for the house right before I came over here.
Love it.
So I love a craft. Again, I would love to have this mother's life minus the 2 children that she's destabilizing. And also minus Hank. I don't fuck with Hank. But I was like, she kept talking about like apple seed bracelets. And I was like,
what is that?
Yeah, I was like, apples, like, that's an organic material that I guess I imagined kind of raw. I was like, you can't sell an apple seed necklace. So I too looked it up. Apparently this was a big thing in the 60s and 70s. Some of them still exist. Like, you can see them on eBay. They look really pretty. I guess like the apple seeds dry out and they just become, they're already sort of like dark, reddish brown.
Yeah, I guess they wouldn't rot. Yeah.
So like it just becomes like the husk, and any sort of like organic matter that would disintegrate does. And so they just look like kind of like really beautiful, intricately seeded, like beaded
Should
pieces.
we make apple seed bracelets?
Obviously, but
All
we have
right.
to eat a lot of apples.
I have 2 right now.
Aw.
Good start.
Anyway.
So
that
Mom
was
goes
cute.
over well, and Julie's like, okay, well, thank God for that. And then I did wonder if Dad being a flake is why they got divorced.
Oh, see, this is so funny. I took it the opposite way, which is that, well, I mean, I guess it's like, it's either or. Because again, I'm not trying to say, lest the dolls think that like I'm your friend that's not woke. I'm not trying to say that the mom can't have like her own hopes and dreams and that like mothers don't deserve that because
Yeah.
absolutely mothers
The
completely
dolls
deserve
don't
that.
think that.
Okay. So I completely get that. And like obviously, like I said, the mother is like a victim of her time.
Yeah.
I just feel sad that like there's certain parts of Julie's life that I don't think anybody's like taking into consideration, like Nutmeg.
Yeah.
Hashtag justice for Nutmeg. Um, but when I saw you write that, what I thought was like, okay, so the dad sucks. Like he's clearly kind of sexist and also a deadbeat. And he, I'm sure, was like, I love this paradigm where I go and do whatever the hell I want and I fly my planes all around the world and you stay here and you take care of my children for me and you take care of my house for me. And then also, meanwhile, the mom was like, well, now I've started this store and it requires more of my time and I need to be at the store. I need you to come do these things. I need you to pick the
Yeah.
girls up. And then he was like, whoa, that's not what I signed up for.
And he can easily just get on a plane and there's like built-in excuse. He's literally
Yeah, he's
in
like,
the
well, I
air.
gotta go. Yeah,
You know what happened was his airline called him and was like, hey, we're looking for someone to cover this shift. If you can't, we can find someone else. And he was like,
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
Sucks.
totally. So, I mean, I wasn't saying that to like put it on the mom because it's not on the mom, but I'm like, yeah, like I thought you meant like was her store the reason they got divorced? And I was like, maybe, but like in the sense that like it could be like the impetus for her to be like, well, I don't just exist to like make your world work.
Yeah.
And he was like, but why not?
I think
like
it's a
it
little
that
things.
way.
I hope we find out. I hope
I
we
hope we
find
find
out. So, but we do jump over the trauma of dad and jump into the trauma of sexism because this part really hurt me. And I also really enjoyed this.
It was so mean.
So Julie has to go ask the coach, whose name is Coach Manley, which I didn't say out loud until later. And I was like, ha, 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 ha.
That's tough.
She goes to Coach Manley's office and she's like, hi, I would like to sign up. And he's like, great, here's the form. And she's like, okay, cool. And he's like, how many are you going to bake? And she's like, cupcakes? I just made a bunch, but they're not for this.
Yeah. No, I like when he was like, I think you should make cookies because I like cookies. And it's like, okay, weird.
And she's like, I'm actually here to try out for the basketball team. And he's like, haha, girls can't shoot hoops. Like, that'd be stupid for you to play on the boys' basketball team. And she's like, but I really want to. And he's like, well, you can't. And then I felt this was very sad because she really wants to say something, but she doesn't know how to voice what she's feeling.
Yeah.
And so she stands there and she's like trying to figure out what to do. And he's like, what the fuck are you still doing here? Like, I'm going to call the principal on you and give you a demerit. I'm like, why? Because she's asking a question? Like, Jesus Christ.
I don't know. That, like, as a former precocious child who was always kind of, like, trying to, like, change, like, you know,
Change things.
or at least, like, questioning, like, well, like, why does it have to be like that?
Yeah.
And really pissing off, like, certain adults. Like, I really identified with this. I also really like that they didn't kind of fall into the trope that I feel like a lot of, like, media about kids does, where it's like, and then Julie clapped back with an incredible comeback that like no 9-year-old has ever said to an adult they were intimidated by. Like she had a real honest reaction, which is just like, I can't believe you're coming at me like this.
It's also just like very relatable to be like, I don't understand why this isn't working. Like in a way that's like, but I want to play basketball and I'm good at it. Like it's injustice.
Wouldn't you want like a good kid on your team? And he's like, no, get out of here.
And so she's really upset, and she goes home dejected, and she meets up with Mom and Tracy, who are, like, hanging out, as they always do, and she tells them what happened, and Tracy's like, he is a male chauvinist pig, and the mom's like, where'd you hear that?
The mom's like, no, remember, she gasped.
She gasped.
She's like,
and she's like, sorry, that's what Billie Jean King said.
I'm sorry, the little drawing of Billie Jean
The little
King.
vignette drawing?
The little vignette drawing of Billie Jean King fucking took me out. Like, I was rolling. I was losing my mind.
So one of my favorite things about these is they have the big drawings, and they have these vignette drawings that are done by different artists.
Yeah.
And they did one in Samantha that was one of Teddy Roosevelt's daughters, and it was like the most insane thing. It was like,
what I'm saying is like little tiny Billie Jean King just looked so happy to be in this book, and I was like, okay.
With the glasses and the hair.
No, this was about the moment that I was like, it feels like maybe even like the publisher, like well, gosh, what was it? What's the Learning Company?
Pleasance Company.
Oh yeah, the Pleasant Company. Like, it feels like they gave her a list of like, here are all of the 70s cultural like historical touchstones, and she just like was filling them in Mad Lib style, where she's like, oh, it's been like 5 pages since I mentioned something about the 70s. Oop, Billie Jean King.
They're all a little bit like that, where it's like Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal, and you're like, what's the New Deal? And it's like, I prefer Hoover's way of doing things. It's like, Who's talking to a kid about that?
We heard about this. It was like, how old were you when you finally put together, like, in Annie, like, Daddy Warbucks and Hooverville and, like, all that kind of, like, all those sort of, like, references?
Well, Warbucks I didn't get until later that he was like a
Like a war profiteer?
Yeah, war.
Yeah. So he had so much money.
I remember, I could talk about Annie for hours. I was in
I'm sure.
Annie.
We have talked about Annie. Like,
I know
Annie
you watched me do an entire Annie
is
performance for you.
foundational in our friendship. Yeah.
Remember when I sang tomorrow at New Year's Eve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about New Year's Eve. It was tough. But no, I liked when she said male chauvinist pig. I was also kind of surprised that the mother had that strong of a reaction. Maybe again because of, like, culturally that term has been really watered down to the point where it doesn't.
But when it first came out, it was probably pretty hot.
But also, I'm like, well, the mother just got divorced in the 70s to start a business. She is a female entrepreneur in the 70s, a single mom, a divorcee, and yet she is just completely bowled over by male chauvinist pig. But that's because she has her own male in her life.
She has a boyfriend.
Yeah,
she alley-ooped for another basketball term.
She alley-ooped.
So Julie is upset, and Mom and her. Well, actually, there's a part where Mom is like, "Well, I can talk to Dad about it," and Julie's like, "Well, Dad already said no. I'm not going to tell you that." And also, Dad is in the air, and I have to have this audition, this tryout done by like next week, and Dad's not going to be back in time, so this is fruitless. So Julie goes to her room and really sinks into how much divorce sucks, and is like, "My old school, they had a team, I could play on it," and she's feeling really bad about all the new things that have happened in her life and how it sucks now. And I'm like, relatable.
That's real.
Yeah. Chapter 5, let girls play too.
Hey, let girls play too.
Let girls play too. Let them. Let them. Let them, as Mel Robbins says. Let them.
Hey, let them. The let them theory. That's what Coach Manley needed to read.
So Julie's at school again, and AAA is gossiping about how she's a tomboy.
Oh yeah, the love of glad rags really didn't last very long.
No.
Yeah.
And I was like, ugh, tomboy. Is that bad to be considered a tomboy?
Again, I think maybe only in the 70s. Now it's like, cute.
I always wanted to be a tomboy.
Yeah.
But I just wasn't good enough at sports. And so that's kind of like at school, but Ivy is coming to hang out at Mom's house over the weekend. They're going to have a sleepover, and like two kids in the 70s, they are wandering the streets of San Francisco alone.
Haight-Ashbury again. Like, this is like not good.
Yeah.
Like...
And Ivy knows it. And apparently Ivy's parents have instilled the fear of God in her about stranger danger because Hank walks by. And Julie's like, look, there's my mom's platonic friend Hank. And Julie's like, we should not approach that scary ginger man who looks homeless.
Okay, so I want to talk about this because it's not, they don't just describe him that way. They say he has troll-like orange hair. Now, we all know a troll hair is like a flame, like it's giant.
He's like the heat miser.
Orange. So I'm like, is she being like a little like sort of purple about just this ginger man? Or does he actually look insane? In which case, like, Ivy is all the more, I'm sorry. Like, I think that this was, we were talking earlier about like whether, if you were like, I'm not on the fence about Ivy. And I'm like, Ivy, I think, had set clear boundaries, and Julie was completely like blowing through all of them. She was like, you're going to come with me out on the street. You're going to talk to this man who looks like a troll. Who you don't know. You're like, oh, that's some dude my mom hangs out with named Hank. And Hank's like, I was in the war. I have PTSD. And Ivy's the bad person to be like, no, I don't know if this is a safe place for me. This is not why I think
this is Ivy's the bad person.
I see.
So they talk to Hank, unfortunately, and he talks about how he's trying to get the veteran center reopened.
Which is good. And we have empathy for the fact
that he's a
veteran.
And he has a petition. And Julie's like, what the hell is that? And he goes, well, it's a thing that you get people to sign, and then you force people to recognize that people want this thing through the signatures. Yeah. And Julie's like, that's exactly what I need.
She's like, that's perfect.
So she's like, I'm going to change our weekend plans, Ivy. All the fun we're going to have out the window. We're getting 150 signatures from strangers whom you hate.
That cupcake shop I told you about, forget about it.
No more 12 dozen.
We're going to do outdoor physical labor. No, I thought it was wild. I liked this little detail about Hank because my mom gave me, when I was like 10 or 11, all of her like Archie comics from like the 70s, which was such a treasure trove. And in there, she had some of these like love comics that were like these like love stories for teenagers, and which I was so excited about. And one of them was about a girl whose boyfriend came home from Vietnam, and everybody started treating him differently. And I remember being so confused about this because I had no cultural understanding of the Vietnam War. And I was like, I was like, well, I live in the South. I thought veterans were to be loved and cherished above all. You have to respect the soldiers and to support the troops. And then my mom had to be like, so people felt a little different about the Vietnam War. And sometimes they then treated the young, very young men who came back completely traumatized from this war in a way that was unfair. And I was like, kind of like Julie with Coach Manley.
Oh, Manley.
I was just like, but why would they do that? That's unfair. That's like, it's so mean. And she was like, you're not ready for like all of the sort of context around this. And I wasn't.
Did you ever see the movie My Dog Skip? No. Okay, so it's with Frankie Muniz.
Yeah.
It is a really, really sad movie.
But I tend to skip movies where like a dog is sort of like focal because I'm like, that dog's gonna die.
So it's about this boy who's like a loser and his parents get him a dog and the dog becomes his best friend and like teaches him how to like
And then the dog goes to Vietnam?
Yeah.
And then the dog gets drafted?
No, I don't remember exactly what happened because my dad rented it as a kid and it was one of those movies where I was like, why'd you rent this? Everyone's crying. The dog lives a very long life, but it does die.
Does it get drafted?
No, but he has a neighbor. The little boy, Frankie Muniz, it's in the 60s. He has a neighbor who is like a bright-eyed American boy, like 18, like going to like getting drafted into Vietnam. And he's the only person who's nice to Frankie Muniz as like a little kid. And he's really excited. So he goes off to war. And then there's a scene later on where he comes back and there's like an American flag hanging in his family's like yard. And Frankie Muniz comes up to him and is like, oh, John, you want to play ball? And John just like glares at him and like takes the flag down, like runs and like walks inside. And I remember being, as a kid being like, wait, why did he do that? What happened? And my dad's like, it was the Vietnam War. And I was like, what do you think that means to me?
You're like, cool, I'm 8. So like, what do you
like, what are you talking about?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
The mean.
Anyway,
what's Vietnam?
There's a really sad scene in the end when Frankie Muniz goes to college because he's grown up now.
Yeah.
And the dog is really old. The
dog
is
Frankie Muniz, so he's not really grown up. Sorry.
The dog is really old now. The dog is just like really, really old and sick and tired. And it's just lying on his bed because it smells like him.
That's tough. Okay.
Yeah.
Every part of that is very sad.
Yeah. It's a good movie though.
Do you ever think, I know we're #girls, American Girl Show. Do you ever think about like the horror of like the draft? Like what that must have been like you're 18 years old, you're watching like a TV show and a number is going to come up and you might have
Hunger Games.
You might have to go to war. Like,
well, I did a whole like what was it? That episode,
we
that
talked
podcast.
about this.
Yeah, where I
'cause-
was like what is it? When you're like
conscripted?
No, I was like a guest host on a podcast.
Oh,
like like what the Daily Show does.
Yeah. Oh, like a correspondent?
Yeah, I was like a guest correspondent.
Yeah.
And I had to do a whole episode about this guy who was like 18 and got drafted and died. And like, it was very sad. I interviewed all his friends and I was like sobbing. And this was like 2 years ago. And all these guys are in their 70s, 80s, still talking about their best friend and how much they miss him. And like all these crazy facts about this guy. And you're like, this is terrible.
It is. It's so sad. But I mean, because I know obviously like this sounds like very sophomoric of like, can you imagine going to war?
Yeah.
But I mean even beyond like the horror of like the very real danger, but like also like the horror of like to come home, you are now being asked to like commit violence against strangers. Because like I don't know if I could do that. Like I don't know if I could.
It's very Hunger Games.
Right? And it's one thing, yeah, because it's one thing to like. And again, not that I have any real memory of this, this is all cultural memory, but like our cultural memory of World War II is like we were attacked and it is about honor and it is about like defeating an evil, right? Like people are being like murdered en masse and we had to stop this. Vietnam, was like so much more sort of like oblique and then it turned out really just kind of all around bad.
Yeah.
So it's like a thing that you don't understand, people that you don't know, a cause that you don't connect to. And in order to come home, you're going to have to commit violence and become a violent
or be
person.
hurt.
Or be hurt.
Well, it's actually, in this lesson I'll say it, but that's how Susan Collins came up with the Hunger Games when she was flipping channels and there was like a history documentary on Vietnam. And the next channel was Survivor. And
she was like,
and it was Boston Rob's season.
Boston Rob.
And so she was like, I wonder, wouldn't it be crazy if you like combine these two into something wacky? And that's how we have that. And now we've been talking about her forever.
I love Suzanne.
We'll do the Hunger Games, guys. It'll be way better.
Oh, I got things to say.
But so where are we in this? So anyways, Hank is a war hero. We don't like him though, and so They
I like
are.
how he's always around. I don't begrudge him his trauma.
Yeah. But Julie's doing a petition. Ivy's immediately bored by this. And you kind of said that you don't understand why random people writing their names on the petition
Honestly,
would
I
help.
don't think that Julie fully understands
That a petition should be within the school.
Yeah, like why is Coach Manley going to be swayed that like her next door neighbor thinks she should be on the basketball team?
Yeah, I think it's a kid thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And so then I said Julie quickly realizes that no one likes a solicitor because she keeps asking. People are just flat out ignoring her. And then Ivy quickly gets fed up. And this is where I had an issue with Ivy. And obviously this is from an adult perspective. But like her friend is obviously going through a hard time and like really needs this in like a deep way. In a way that like, I guess it is like, yeah, maybe I'm being too adult about it. But if you had gone through something like life altering and then wanted me to do some kind of insane errand with you, I would like think about it as like, okay, maybe Chelsea really needs this in a way that I'm not understanding. And maybe my desire to like do cartwheels right now is secondary.
I hear you. I think that Ivy was scared. I think that it made her really scared and uncomfortable. And I think that
so she left alone.
I think that Julie specifically said, can we do it for a little bit? And if you really don't like it, we'll go home. And then she didn't stop. She didn't stop.
Yeah.
And I did write, like, this freaked me out because they just say, like, Ivy's like, well, I don't want to do this anymore. And we don't need to be friends then. And she walks away. They're outside. They're not in the house. And then later it says, like, Julie woke up and she was supposed to be eating breakfast with her best friend, but she's not. And I'm like, this is like an era before like cell phones or anything. Did Ivy just vanish into the night? Did she walk back to the suburbs? Like,
I do think it is funny that like because it is the 70s and so unhinged that like Ivy just came home and her parents like, oh, are you not sleeping at Julie's? And like, hey,
she's like, no.
How'd you get here?
No, I know. I was like, I guess like, you know, like the sort of like shorthand I feel like in all period fiction now is like she's at a bike.
Yeah.
Like period. Have you ever noticed that like period fiction like is like there's just no amount of land that a child couldn't cover on a bike. We can, if we want like our like pre-90s child heroes to be
then
like,
they have a bike.
Then they've got a bike and like they can be across town, they can be across the state, they're on their bike.
No helmet though.
Yeah, right.
Oh, never. Just biking along. And so yeah, she wakes up the next morning dejected that Ivy's vanished.
Oh, but don't worry, guess who shows up?
Hank.
Hank's here. Don't worry, guys. Hank's here.
So she's
in the morning.
She's shooting hoops, and Hank's like, "Ho, you're gonna like,
hey, sport."
Yeah, he's like, you're gonna hit that ball so hard it's gonna like cause a sinkhole in the street. You're gonna cause the San Andreas fault to break.
That would have been a cooler thing for him to say.
Yeah, he didn't say it though. And then Julie, he's like, how's your petition going? And she goes, it's really hard. No one wants to sign it. I've kind of given up because she tore it up. I forgot to say.
Well, she was so sad about Ivy disappearing.
And then Hank's like, well, you know, I don't like the guy. But Richard Nixon once said,
I don't even think he said, I don't like the guy. This was what was
he said, I don't agree with everything he said. Yeah, he said.
Oh, okay, I missed that part. We're going.
He goes, do you know who Richard Nixon is? And Ivy's like, yes, because my parents fought about him, but I'm not going to tell him that. And he's like, well, anyway, I didn't like the guy, but he said, a man isn't finished when he's defeated. He's finished when he quits. And Ivy's like,
well, very funny thing for Richard Nixon to say.
Yeah.
But all right.
Also, a fun fact about me is for my AP US history exam, did you do that?
Oh, A-push?
A-push, yeah.
It's a complicated answer.
Okay.
But go on.
But so for my A-push exam, my question was about Richard Nixon's presidency. And you have like not that much time to write it, and you're writing by hand like 3 paragraphs or 4 paragraphs. So I was writing all these things, and I realized in the last paragraph that I had really made it sound like I thought Nixon was like a really cool guy and good president, because I was like talking about how he was actually decent at like balancing, like giving each party a little something something. And then I was like, oh, I need to address Watergate. So in the last sentence, I said, of course, Nixon did have some controversial decisions while in office.
You're like, and don't worry, guys, I'm going to go there.
And that was it.
Watergate.
And I was like, I hope I didn't come off too pro-Nixon in that essay. But we don't know. I got a good grade on it. So maybe
glad for you.
Instructor was too. So then she's like, you know what? I think I am going to keep doing this petition. And so she like rollerblades around. And she like gets all these signatures, and she slowly but surely gets people to sign up. And then we get chapter 6, dumpsters and hoopsters.
Yeah, guess what those 2 things refer to?
Exactly what you think.
Yeah, it's exactly what you think.
So Julie does get an insane amount of signatures. She gets 150, and she like is really.
San Francisco's a big city.
It's just crazy. I mean, I would give a little girl a signature.
Yeah.
She
a little girl that just wanted to play basketball.
Yeah, a little blonde, but like hippie girl, and like I'm a hoopster. I want to play.
Come on,
Let girls play.
Let girls play.
So she gets her signatures, she turns them into Coach Manley, and he's like, I'm gonna put this where it belongs, in the trash. Girls will never play basketball at this school. Like, you gotta be kidding yourself to think that's gonna happen. I was like, Jesus Christ, this guy is evil.
Yeah,
Does
no,
she
he
even
was
want
like
to play on this team?
for all of the sort of like clever and subtle things about that this book does with like having, divorced parents and
He
trying
is
to make
not
sense
subtle.
of it. He is not subtle. He is like a
Coach Manley.
comic book villain.
Yeah.
Like bonkers.
So she's upset. She's not as upset as I
And
thought she
TJ's
would
like,
be.
what's going on?
Yeah, TJ's like, oh God, Julie, what do you need help with? And she's like,
Gee whiz, Julie, that's sure smarts.
she's like, you know what you can do, TJ? We can go dumpster diving after school. And he's like, oh, well, I didn't expect that level of help. And he keeps like trying to get out of it. Like, I have basketball practice. But they find them right before TJ has to go. And he's like, cool, good luck. Tell me how it goes. And so then Julie goes to Principal Sanchez's office.
And she's feeling really nervous because he's
mean.
a stickler.
He's the
He's no
demerit,
nonsense.
yeah.
He'll give you a demerit.
And so she's like, excuse me, Principal Sanchez. She trauma dumps on him. She's like,
Yeah.
I am new at this school. My parents are divorced. I do not understand what's happening. My old
Remember
school.
career day? My dad didn't show
My
up.
dad didn't show up.
Yeah.
My hair freak sister's not around anymore. I need to play basketball. It's the thing that is
It's
like,
all I have.
it is the only thing that will keep me tethered to this earth.
Yeah.
And he's like, I was something of a hoopster myself.
I love the term hoopster.
I know,
it's
it's
really
good.
powerful.
And so he's like, you know what? I can't make any promises, but I will take it to the school board. And then we wait a week. And guess what? He calls her into his office and he's like, guess what, Julie? You can play. Until we have a girls' team, we gotta let you play.
Title IX, baby.
Like, Title IX. He's like, I want this, but also we have no choice.
I want this and I also want to keep my job. So, Julie, you're on the team.
And guess what? You don't even have to try out.
So this was the part that bothered me because I know like the timing doesn't work out, but I just really felt like Julie needed to be sat down in that moment and watch a little movie I like to call G.I. Jane, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. And actually, I felt this so strongly that after reading this, I sat down and watched G.I. Jane, which is all on YouTube, but somebody has stripped out the opening credits where it says G.I. Jane and they've replaced it with their own title, and it's called like She Defeats the Impossible.
That's cool.
It was great.
Better name.
It really cool.
That should have been this chapter
Yeah,
name.
I know. She Defeats the Impossible. And so, but I love that movie. And in it, Demi Moore, G.I. Jane, she demands to go through SEAL training just like all the guys. And she's like, if I don't do it the same way as the guys, they'll never respect me and they'll never trust me as like a member of their unit. So I have to do it and I have to go through it just like the guys do. And they're like, God damn it, G.I. Jane. And then she does it. Spoiler. It's an amazing movie. And Julie is never like, Coach Manley's not going to be the first guy that like causes a problem like this. But now Julie is just getting on the team when she's actually good enough to be on the team.
But my thing is maybe Coach Manley would use it as an excuse for, she's just not good enough.
Well,
it's
that's
not
why
that.
that's why known hoopster Sanchez should have been the one to evaluate her.
Oh, that's true. But I also am wondering too, if I were Julie and this man was so mean to me and he was a basketball coach, I'm not even sure if I would want to.
Yeah, but we've learned that Julie is tenacious.
Yeah.
And she always looks a problem right in the eye.
That's true.
So
Julie's on the basketball team. She is a Jack London Jaguar.
I also have a feeling, and this is not Coach Manley apology, because I hate Coach Manley with a passion. But I have a feeling that once he sees that she's good, he is going to be so like self-serving that he's going to be like, oh, yeah, okay.
No, we're
Well,
going to
you're
get
gonna
a
help me
book
win.
where she
Yeah.
kills it, I think.
Yeah.
And so then Julie heads home and she's eager to share her news with her family, but she realizes, back in the old days, everyone would have been in the living room and I could have told them, but Dad's on a flight and Mom's at Glad Rags and Julie's doing hair freak things, but I'll still get to tell all of them in my own time. And that is exciting in its own way. And she also realizes that she's no longer looking at the street names because she knows her way home. The end.
The end. And now we've met Julie.
And now we've met Julie. And we do a little peek into the past, and it's really mostly about Title IX.
It's really funny because like I think, well, funny is not the right word. I think that people are most familiar with Title IX in like modern times because it is often referenced when talking about sexual assault on campus.
Yes, that's how I know it.
I was gonna say, and so I've actually found that a lot of people think that that's what it is about.
That's what I thought it was until
And
this
yeah,
book.
and it's actually just like about the equal opportunity, like equal rights and equal opportunities for women. So like it was a clever use of Title IX to try to combat like the rampant like sexual harassment, sexual assault on
Yeah, it
campus
was like a
by saying like women deserve the equal right to
not be
education,
raped.
to not be raped at school.
Yeah, so true.
But like yeah, like kind of to your point, and actually to thank God, to Julie's point, this was just about like, well, she is here, she is a student, she
Yeah.
deserves the same things that the boys have.
Yeah. And it's just funny because I know the 70s weren't that long ago, so it does feel kind of crazy that it's like, and then it was things like women should maybe get paid the same amount as men when they're doing the exact same job.
Well, I'm still fighting for that.
And like, yeah, but it's like things that we still kind of are fighting for, which is part of American Girl Talk, is when we're like, hey, this is still happening in some ways. How do we feel about that? But I mean, it kind of goes through like what was happening with like women's like basically like since divorce was becoming more of like an acceptable thing, how it was like, okay, then women need to be able to support families on their own too. We need to be able to have incomes that like work for us and like independence in that. And then it talks about like we talked about the battle of the sexes with Billie Jean King. We have a real picture of Billie Jean King this time. And then we kind of get into a little bit of like America was at crossroads. Civil unrest was rampant. People had lost faith in the government. I'm like, this feels so familiar.
Like, oh no.
Oh God.
Oh geez.
But yeah. It's an easy peek at the past. And so just kind of moving into final thoughts.
Well, did it all work out for them in the 70s? Like, is it all going to work out for us? But anyway, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I thought this was a lot of information.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that the divorce plotline and then the basketball plotline, sometimes I was like, this feels like it could be two different books. Like, there's a little, it worked and stuff, but this was actually a little bit longer than the original books, like by like 10 pages, basically. The old ones used to be 70 pages, and this was 80, like in the book. I thought it worked well, and I thought it was a really nice, neat book, but it did feel a little bit like I was like, okay, it feels like we're talking about like when the basketball came in plot chapter 3, I was like, oh, this is the plot? We're getting here now?
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I do wonder, kind of like we were talking about at the top of the episode, if it's like, because like my memory, and obviously I haven't read them as recently as you have, but like my memory of like the more historical books, like reading like the Kirsten books like that, was that there was so much more lift that they had to do to get you just to understand like how their lives worked.
Yeah.
That there was less room for like these kind of like stereotypical like narrative plots.
B-plots and stuff.
Yeah, but now it's like, okay, well, you get like Julie's in an apartment. I don't need to explain to you what an apartment is or
Yeah,
what like
that's true.
takeout is. So we have more time to maybe like flesh out Julie's world.
Well, see, that's where
or inner world.
they use the vignettes well, because it would be like the little picture would be like,
oh yeah,
a saddle, and a picture of saddle, and it would tell you.
I mean, I was going to ask this question, and now I realize, oh, like you absolutely had to. In Annapolis, in New England, well, I know it's not
Mid-Atlantic.
Mid-Atlantic. Yes. Okay. In the old world, as I think of it, did you have one of those like little like villages that like all the like classes go to, where it's like this is how they lived in like the 1800s, and this is what like a butter churn looked like?
My whole downtown is like historically preserved.
That's what I thought. Okay, I was gonna say, because we had like one of the elementary schools I went to, like for the use I think of like all the schools in the district or whatever, they had like a little like 1800s village, and you could walk through it and like walk through all the cabins and see how people spun wool and shit.
The entire town of Annapolis is
that
perfectly preserved historically, and so there are 7 different buildings that are like just historical like representations of what it used to be like. So yeah.
Guess what I found out?
What?
There are some cruises that leave out of Annapolis.
Really?
Or at least out of Maryland. No, I'm sorry.
Ocean City.
Baltimore.
Yeah. Different.
How far away is Annapolis?
45
minutes?
Yeah.
So they leave out of Annapolis. So don't piss me off. So we can go on a cruise together.
We live together here. We can go to cruise anytime.
I know. You heard it here first, folks. I think it would be fun if we went on a cruise.
Yeah.
And what if we put together like an American Girl doll cruise? Because you know they have themed cruises.
You guys want to do an American?
Do you guys want to go on an American Girl doll cruise?
You may or may not get cholera, like Martin.
There is. You are so afraid. Can I tell you? They were washing hands like a medical drama on the last
I watched
cruise I went
Poop
on.
Cruise, Chelsea.
That was one cruise. That was one cruise. Anyway,
But
all in all,
all in all, I thought this book was pretty good. I was a little hesitant because it was after the original books.
Right.
And so
like
I was,
a new era.
Yeah, and I was kind of like maybe putting my nose up a little bit at what to expect. But I really liked it.
Well, can I ask you, so,
Yeah.
because you were talking about, like, you know, there's, like, the core girls, and then they kept adding girls, and then you're right, there's, like, a new era. Have they gone back in and added more girls, like, in, like, the 18th, 19th centuries?
Yes, we will read them. We have there's one named Caroline who's in the War of 1812.
What was the War of 1812?
We'll talk about it when we get
my
there.
gosh.
Then
my
There's
gosh.
Rebecca Rubin, who is
I do know about that one.
Yeah, she's a Jewish immigrant in New York City.
Her name is Rebecca Rubin.
Yeah.
So again, they were a little on the nose on that one,
You know?
but I think it's a cool story to be told.
There are a few, and there's actually two that I think are in New Orleans that we'll read. It's cool actually. I think it's the first one that diverges a little bit from the traditional thing, but it's like Cecily and Mary Grace, and one is a white girl living in New Orleans, and one is a black girl living in New Orleans during like
different experiences,
like the 1800s or maybe early 1900s. I don't know. We'll get there.
Well, I would love, being from New Orleans, I would love to come back for that, unless, of course, the dolls, like, super hate my vibe, and then...
No, you're going to be here for every meat book. You're a
Oh,
meat girl.
I see. I'm the meat girl.
Yeah. You're the meat girl.
Great. I'm a vegetarian. That's why I responded that way. I'm very
Meat.
excited.
You're the MEET girl.
Oh, like Meet Chelsea.
Yeah.
Time to meet a new girl.
Meet Chelsea.
Yeah, I see.
And so I liked it. I thought I really liked the sexism, like, as weird as that sounds. I liked talking about it.
I say, you liked the depiction, the portrayal, the insight, the specificity.
Well,
you
yeah.
didn't enjoy the sexism,
No,
right?
but I think it's important to like teach little girls about things that are hard, like, and that aren't fair, you know?
I also think there's sexism that still happens. Like, I'm hoping that maybe little girls in school now are not experiencing like this level of like, I'll die before a girl will join the basketball team or whatever. But like, there are like smaller, like insidious ways that, people might be like the one that I sometimes hear come up a lot with like my friends who have kids, is like little girls are expected like, oh, well, you're always so good in class and like you're always so quiet. Like you can take all the notes. And like even actually like in work, like I have a friend who talked about how like she had to like finally put her foot down and like stop taking notes for meetings, because even though she was like the same level or actually senior as some of the people in these meetings,
She was
they
taking
just
notes.
assumed that like, and they'd be like, well, you have the best handwriting. And she's like, we're all adults and we're all on computers.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about?
No, and I think it's important to show girls that like it's not going to be easy sometimes, but like you do have to like keep standing up for yourself in these situations. So I thought it was a nice lesson.
I loved how hard it was for Julie and how
Yes.
she didn't give up. And I was like, this is such a good message for young girls. It wasn't immediately easy. And again, she didn't have like all the cool like clapbacks and like, she just like, she persevered. Like it was important to her and she did it.
No, and I thought it was very sweet. So I'm excited for the rest of Julie. And guys, if you like this episode, then share this with your friend who's a child of divorce.
Share this with your friend who also like disappeared in the night after refusing to speak to a man.
Share this with your friend whose mom is dating a man that you don't know that well.
Share this with your friend who you would start $1 million cupcake business with.
And share this with your friend whose sister is a hair freak.
Aw, share this with your friend who is a hair freak herself.
Sure, guys, we're all hair freaks in one way or another. So
That's so true.
like, subscribe. Let me know what you guys thought of our dear Chelsea, if it's nice. If it's not, then don't tell me.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. But
And,
like I enjoyed my time with you.
And guys, as you know, keep spreading the love. Keep commenting. Tell me your feelings about Julie. Tell me your feelings about sexism. I hope they're the same as mine, because they should be if you're listening to this show.
Yeah, it would be a weird vibe to be like, justice for Coach Manley.
I thought Coach Manley was right, that Julie shouldn't have been
Yeah,
there.
she shouldn't be there. No, I thought it was great. I think that anyone should tell you how they really feel, as long as the way they feel is not
Positive.
spooky.
Yeah.
So,
And guys, I'll catch you next time. And until then, goodbye.